Good morning, everyone. I am Tabitha Hassell with Tabs on Tap. Hope you guys are all having a great Friday morning, heading into I'm sure, busy for most people Labor Day weekend. So happy to have you all here. Yesterday, I'm just going to tell you right now, thank you so much for hanging in there with me. I don't know if I've ever been so tired in my life. It was absolutely an exhausting morning. There were times yet during yesterday's show, I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this. I work long, long nights, very long nights, and somehow managed to still get up and get going. But boy, some mornings are rougher than others. But either way, happy to be back again. It's a happy to be a Friday. We have Colonel Joe Adams joining us today at 8 a.m. Happy to have Colonel Joe Adams with us today. So much going on, in the news. But today's Friday. I'm gonna take it easy today. I'm not gonna get too crazy with things. I will say one thing though. Yesterday, I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to be on with Jamie Ullman on the Ullman Report on News Talk STL. Also, very happy to be there. Jamie's wonderful. And there's a lot of stations who wouldn't allow something like that. There's a lot of people who, and I hope to have Jamie on my show as well. We had been trying to coordinate something, but I get so darn busy that it's hard to keep going back and forth. Good morning, Ryan. But we're all on the same team. We all want the same thing. So I think it's great for us to have each other on each other's show, share ideas, and we all think differently. So I would look forward to having Jamie on the show. Hopefully, he'll be able to do that. I know he's a busy guy too, or aren't we all these days? Things are just, I think, busy for everyone. I kind of think that I don't know why, but I feel like so many of us, and so many of my friends, and so many of my family members and people I talk to, we all say the same thing. We are busier than we have ever been in our lives. We're running around from the time we wake up till the time we go to bed at night, whether it's because you have kids and you've got children's events, or whether you're just busy with work, or some people I know have two or three different jobs. People are busy these days. I'm telling you. Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Eddie, and of course Ryan. Thank you guys again for joining me and sticking around with me yesterday through my hazy fog of a morning. And I'm going to talk a little bit today also about the film industry. That's something else I'm going to get into. I own a security company. I work in the film industry. I do mostly anti-piracy, but also we do a lot of different film related work. And so I want to definitely talk about that today. Obviously, Colonel Joe Adams joining us at 8 a.m. Happy to have Colonel Adams with us. Let's see. I want to talk about Mark Zuckerberg. We're going to talk about the illegals in the United States, just very briefly. I'm not going to take too much time getting into a lot of different things today because do have Colonel Joe Adams joining us at 8 o'clock, and I told him that I really hope he can stick through the rest of the show with us. He may not have an hour this morning to chit chat with us, but I'm really hoping that he does because there's so many things we can talk about. I've got some videos to show you guys. This is new to me. Well, I shouldn't say new. I've known about this for a long time. We've talked about it on different shows, but I've never really done the deep dive into it because to me it sounds so incredulous that it just can't be. Good morning, Sherry. I'm going to play a video this morning, and this is by Robert David Steele. You probably know that name. I don't. You guys know so much more than I do about so many different topics. So a lot of this you guys already know. And it's just something that seems so incredulous to me that I've had a hard time understanding it or even believing that it's true. Maybe my brain doesn't want me to believe it's true. I'm going to play a video by Robert David Steele. Now, he is a former CIA officer, a Marine intelligence officer, talking about talking about organ harvesting, talking about the business of trafficking children for organ harvesting or sex trafficking and so on. It's crazy that that's a multi-billion-dollar business, not just in China, right here in the United States. It's insane. And I'm just going to play a brief clip here shortly what he has to say about that. They put a committee together. There's a longer video that I shared on my Telegram page, and it's about 30 minutes. The video is shared. I'm probably just going to play the first probably minute, and that'll give you a good idea of what's going on there. And hopefully Colonel Joe Adams will talk to us about that a little bit because I can guarantee you that he knows what's going on, that he deals in trafficking. As a matter of fact, I know he does because he's talked about it. But I just can't believe that it's this extensive, that it's an entire business, it's an entire industry for people. People are making money doing this, billions of dollars. It's crazy. Good morning, Sherry and Karen. So that's something I want to get into. We're going to get in some highlights from the interview yesterday. I'm sure you guys saw that on CNN. Harris, Walz. By the way, that was only supposed to be Harris. Kamala Harris was the only person that was invited to give an interview with CNN, but she couldn't do it alone. She could not do it alone. And so she therefore had Walz accompany her. CNN actually didn't even want Walz there. They only wanted Kamala Harris. She insisted that he accompany her. Why? To take the focus off of her, obviously. And CNN, it was of course softball, but there were a couple of questions that were asked that I thought, especially the ones to Walz, and I'm going to go over these highlights. Good morning, Michelle, Ann, and we're going to have to get into it because when I was watching it, I'm just like, what is going on? And of course, CNN, they're such liars, aren't they? You'll see when I play these two video clips. It says live at the bottom. This interview was not live. It was pre-recorded and edited. It was not live. So why are they saying that it's live? It's not live. I mean, yeah, at one point Harris and Walz were there live, but it's not live anymore. When you go back, remember on this past Wednesday, I had a show, I had to work, I wasn't here, and I posted it everywhere, replay, 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 because I didn't want to give anyone the impression that that was a live show, because that's what you do. When you do a non-live show, you make sure people know it's not live. You don't lie and say it's live when it's not. Jay says the short clip they have released doesn't make Harris look good. I don't know which clip that is, Jay, but I've got a couple of clips of my own here, and it's probably one of the ones that you are talking about. Let's start here with Harris.
Donald Trump.
Okay.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you
Oh,
have
I
never
know.
interacted with him, met him
Let's
face to
start that over
face.
again.
That's
I
going to
had
change.
that turned off from my interview with Jamie
Donald
Alden
Trump.
last night.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any?
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Let's talk about.
Even she said, "What? That's it? That's all you have to say? That's it?" She didn't explain. She didn't go into any kind of detail. She just laughed. It was like, "Oh, same old playbook." She didn't explain at all, did she? Why? Because she can't. Because she can't explain. She's not black. She's not. So she can't explain. Another frustrating. So here's one of the other highlights that I have, and this one I like a lot better. It's a little bit longer. It's 3 minutes.
The country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war. Yeah. Did you misspeak, as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
I just one other question, because again, this is all new.
Yeah.
I mean, this was not however many days ago. This was not on either of your bingo cards, especially yours. You had to clarify that you had said that you and your wife used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order to have children. And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign repeatedly made false statements about a 1995 arrest for drunk and reckless driving. What do you say to voters who aren't sure whether they can take you at your word?
Well, I've been very public. I think they can see my students come out, former folks I've served with, and they vouch for me. I certainly own my mistakes when I make them. The one thing I'll tell you is I wished in this country wouldn't have to do this. I spoke about our infertility issues because it's hell, and families know this. And I spoke about the treatments that were available to us that had those beautiful children there. That's quite a contrast in folks that are trying to take those rights away from us. And so I think people know who I am. They know that record. They've seen that. I've taught thousands.
Okay, I've had enough of him. We're just going to cut that short a second. Okay, let's take this apart just a little bit. One is watch their facial expressions. You know, when I was younger and was in school, I took classes on neuro-linguistic programming. And when you look at their expressions and how they talk, and while he's talking, Harris has this look on her face like she's just completely entertained. The look I would have on my face if I was making fun of one of my friends for something they had to say that maybe they didn't want to say. It was the strangest thing ever. The look on Harris's face, I don't understand it. And do you see how he keeps going like this? He's talking and he closes his eyes. That's a sure sign of that he knows he lied. He knows he lied. He knows he's still lying. And when you see somebody blink like that, that's what that means. That he's lied. He knows he's lying. He's, obviously trying to figure out how he can relate to people, how he can make her believe him. That's why you see him, thinking. He's thinking. And then Harris, you see her looking down. Your eye movements, whether you know this or not, they tell everything. When you interrogate someone, you're looking at their eye movements, and their eye movements tell where they're receiving that memory from. And she looks down, and the way that she looks down tells that she's trying to recall from a memory which is very likely from the coaching that she's had. So she's looking down like, okay, what do they tell me to say? And if she's looking up, then she's looking at the past, in that she's trying to picture what took place versus what someone taught her. And Jay says, my buddy is a retired cop, says people who close their eyes or away are lying. Absolutely so. The way that Walz kept closing his eyes like that absolutely is a sign that he was lying. If he was being interrogated, these are the things that police officers and investigators are looking at. Your eye movement is directly tied to your brain and how your brain thinks. Now, a lot of that can change by whether you're a visionary person or an auditory person and different things like that. So just generally speaking, if you're looking down, you're recalling something most likely someone told you, taught you, you're recalling something that you learned, versus looking up where you're recalling it from memory that it actually happened, versus closing your eyes like this means that you're lying. You're trying to come up with an excuse. You're trying to make sure that person perceives you as being truthful. And so there's a lot you can see here. There was so much going on in that interview. Just looking, for me, I was looking at their facial expressions. And Harris, when they asked her about Trump, how she there was another one where they said, oh, you don't really know Donald Trump. You've never met him. And she's just like, yeah. I mean, come on, give us an answer. I don't feel like we got any answers in this interview. They're just snowballing us, absolutely snowballing us. Good morning, Matthew and Jennifer. Yeah, Jennifer, body language says a lot. It absolutely does. I'm always looking at people's body language because it speaks volumes. What they're not saying out of their mouth is being said in their body language. There was nothing that was learned in this interview. Absolutely nothing. Walz just didn't answer the question at all. She had to ask him twice, and this is CNN. She had to ask him twice. Please explain yourself. You said you were in combat with a weapon. Were you? Did you lie? Oh, well, I was, she had to ask him again twice. The first time he's just like, well, everybody likes me. Everybody knows me. They all know who I am. What does that have to do with anything? And then she asked him again, and he's like, well, we were at a school thing. We're talking about guns and come on now. Oh, he just made a mistake. No, no, he's lying. They are all liars. Good morning, Cindy. They are all liars. And I hope that you all watched, I hope you guys watched that interview. If you didn't, go back and watch it. Watch their body language, watch the looks on their face. He just sat there. He just sat there all somber looking. Kamala sat there with this weird smirk laugh on her face, which it's like she's childish. I don't understand her at all. It is like she's childish. Like she just always has a smirk on her face. Is it maybe a sign of anxiety, a sign of nervousness? That's kind of how I take it. And when she was looking at him answering those questions, she just had this weird smile. I'm like, I don't know. I would probably the look I would have if we were trying to do a serious interview and somebody asked you a question about a body part or something. I would have this weird smirk on my face, like, oh my God, how are you going to answer that one? To me, that's the look she had. We learned nothing from that interview. Good morning, Georgia in South Dakota. I hope you're having some good weather out there, Georgia. We learned nothing from that, and we never will. Now I hear that they're thinking about backtracking on the ABC debate. I hope that doesn't happen. The difference is that originally when the debate was scheduled with Biden, they had a deal where they were going to I sounds like a Monday for me. I'm sounding like Joe Biden himself. They originally made a deal where they were going to mute the microphones. And so when Donald Trump would be speaking, Harris's microphone would be muted. And then when, obviously, if Harris was speaking, Trump's microphone would be muted. And now all of a sudden, Trump's campaign, for some reason, said, okay, we're fine with that. We don't need the microphones muted, or at least Donald Trump did. Then his campaign said, no, we originally made the agreement to have the microphones muted. Let's stick with that. And the Harris campaign, for some reason, they don't want the microphone's muted. And I think I know why. Because you've seen Harris in a former debate from when was that? Whatever year she was running. Was that 2020? I can't even remember when she was in there and she was so horrible and despicable. And remember, you all seen those clips where her saying, I'm speaking, I'm speaking. I can guarantee you her team does not want the microphones muted because while Donald Trump is speaking, she is going to be over there being her crazy, annoying self, throwing in comments. And Donald Trump, he's a very good debater. He's a well-trained debater. He has a lot of poise. Harris, not so much, not so much. Jay, they want a viral moment with Trump. Of course they do. What they probably want to do is they probably, just what you're saying, they want a viral moment. They probably want her to say something so ridiculous and him come out and then them berate him for interrupting a woman or something along those lines. They will spin it any way that they can. They will make sure they spin it. It was just a pointless interview. It really was, as we expected. Did we expect anything else? Now, why won't Harris do an interview, A, alone, B, on a different channel? What about Fox? Why doesn't she do an interview on Fox? Trump has been on CNN. He's been on MSNBC. He's not scared to take them on. Why is she? She's not going to do it. She will not even give a press conference. In fact, this is her first interview, isn't it? And I heard that when she was in Georgia the other day, that she had several campaign stops and didn't even attend the last one because when her motorcade came through, there were a lot of Trump supporters there and they just decided they didn't want to be harassed. And so they left. It's all just a big charade, isn't it? A big facade. Think about that. It's for entertainment purposes only. Jay says Trump isn't as controlled as some. He has his moments. Well, everybody has their moments. No question about it. And Jay says they will never do Fox or any other conservative. Well, of course they're not going to do a conservative outlet because they know they would get real questions. If they come on to Fox or any other conservative outlet, let's say they went to Newsmax or America Online News, they're going to have real questions. It's not going to be edited in their favor. It's certainly not going to be edited, pre-recorded, and then still say live at the bottom. Did you see that? In the 2 clips I played, it said live at the bottom, not a live interview. It's not. It's not. But I'll tell you what the problem is. It's this. This is what the problem is. I want you to take a look. Some of you guys probably already saw this, but I want you to take a look at this because this is exactly the problem with the media, with the government, with Democrats in general.
You or your loved ones suffering from illnesses such as TDS, also known as Trump derangement syndrome? Do you dismiss or deny the current issues facing our country, such as historic inflation, illegal immigration, corporate corruption, World War III escalations, and the chronic disease epidemic? Are you willing to elect someone who was the least popular vice president in modern history, and who offers no policy or vision for America simply because your brain keeps telling you anyone but Trump? If so, you might be struggling from TDS. Introducing independence. Independence allows you the freedom to finally think independently once again. Instead of believing everything you hear from the mainstream media, independence allows for constructive critical thinking.
I used to hear people on the news say things like,
Donald Trump and the movement he has encouraged are a threat to democracy.
and I instantly believed it. With independence, I now realize the media is run by the Democrat elite, who are a corrupt oligarchy that censors free speech, silences political opponents, supports forever wars, and abandons democracy by anointing its candidates.
Independence may not be for everyone. If you enjoy being lied to about your president's cognitive abilities, support Orwellian totalitarianism, or are excited about communist fiscal policy, independence may not be right for you. Common side effects of independence may include an awakening of rational thought, successfully identifying propaganda, freedom of choice, loss of hatred, anti-narcissistic behavior, and love of democracy.
I used to blindly hate whoever my party was running against. I didn't care about facts or policy because I was hopelessly indoctrinated. With independence, I'm much more interested in policies that uphold democracy, and I truly care about the health of our country and its citizens.
Ask your doctor if independence is right for you, and enjoy your freedoms once again.
Isn't that absolutely hilarious? I will play all of those videos. Someone sent that to me and I started playing it last night. I love it. I will play them all. I love campaign videos. That came directly from RFK Jr.'s campaign. They released that video and I absolutely love it. And it's so true, isn't it? They all have a big case of TDS. And they're about to have maybe a bigger case of TDS. We've really downplayed, even I've downplayed it. I think because I'm so desensitized to the lying and manipulation that takes place in our government, particularly around elections, that even I've downplayed it. Mark Zuckerberg told us in writing that the Biden administration and the entire government colluded against Donald Trump in the 2020 election by censoring social media, by censoring Meta, by censoring Instagram, Facebook, everything that goes underneath that umbrella. He told us this. Why aren't they being charged? If Donald Trump wins in November, if he becomes our next president, is he going to go after them on charges? It could be considered treason. I mean, it's a coup is really what it is. I haven't heard it called that yet, but that's literally what it is. You know, they're trying to take one person out of power to place their candidate, their regime into power. That's exactly what it was. I'm very curious because Donald Trump has talked a lot about taking people down. Now, of course, he also said he'd put Hillary in jail, which we know that didn't happen because I think we would know they wouldn't have missed, right? Had that been the case. I really do wonder, is he going to pursue charges against these people? Mark Zuckerberg, you know what? He's just a witness at this point. He's a witness. He probably felt that he had no choice to do exactly what the government told him to do, which would be to censor conservatives. And Abby says, when your candidacy is directly responsible for having Zuckerberg suppress info on social media from the laptop to gov't to taking accounts down in order to win the election, she will have a lot to answer to in the debate. I hope, Abby, you are right. I hope somebody brings it up. I hope Trump throws that out there because what can she say? We know it's true. Mark Zuckerberg has said it himself in writing. He has talked about it. You've heard it come out of his mouth. It is true. Jay says, I don't think Trump will. He didn't before. He'll try to make it about unity again. Well, I don't know, Jay. I think he realized that talking about unity and kumbaya, it doesn't work, does it? He didn't put the Clintons in jail, and look what happened. I'm pretty sure they tried to assassinate him. So maybe he'll take things a little bit more seriously this time. I hope he does. I hope that he pursues these actions against these people for conspiring against him and conspiring against us. I really do. And I don't even blame, I used to blame Mark Zuckerberg. I don't blame him anymore because we see what's happening to Pavel Durov over in France from Telegram. We see what's happening to Chris Pavlovsky from Rumble. We see what's happening to Elon Musk from X. The three platforms, again, that give us a platform, a place where we can speak freely, where we can learn information that we wouldn't otherwise know. There's so much information that's shared on Telegram that I am telling you, if you don't have a Telegram account, please sign up. I tell you guys this every day, and I hope you guys are all doing it because you will never see that information on Facebook. Why? Because they've probably threatened Mark Zuckerberg that if he allows this information, he's going to go to prison because I absolutely do believe the rumors that the United States is behind the arrest of Pavel Durov. I absolutely do because they can't make the arrest here because they will lose the support of all of our Americans right before an election. Not all Americans, of course, but the majority, because we are the majority. They don't want us to think we're the majority, but we certainly are the majority. They absolutely cannot do the things they want to do in this country. So they have to rely on doing it in Europe because they'll play their game with them, won't they? Think about this. There is no American platform in which we have free speech. There is none. There's nothing. We do have Truth Social, and I wish it would pick up a little bit better. But even on Truth Social, I'm not saying that they necessarily reprimand people or put you in jail, but there's no monetization plan. There's a lot of things that Truth Social doesn't have, and I think Truth Social also toes the line to some degree because they don't want to be deplatformed again like they were when they were Parler. They certainly don't want to be deplatformed. There's nothing in the United States where you have a free platform to say anything you want to say. But I will tell you one thing in Zuckerberg's defense. I never thought I would be defending Mark Zuckerberg. I really didn't. But I've been able to do this show largely unimpeded. And there's a lot of things we talk about here, a lot of videos I play, a lot of things we say, for the most part, unimpeded. And I really do see a big difference between the 2024 election suppression versus 2020. In 2020, I felt like I couldn't say anything or talk about Trump at all. If I did, I knew I was going to get a jail sentence. I knew that I was going to be reprimanded. Now, not so much. Now, they took away my monetization. So I don't make a single penny on Facebook. Not that I ever did, but that they did take away. That was because I posted that photo of Trump with his hand in the air directly after the assassination attempt. They definitely did not like that. And it's funny, even the fact checkers came out and said they were wrong. Okay, so Zuckerberg apologized, but hey, restore my account back to where it was. And that's probably not going to happen. So we'll see. We got a lot of important things to talk about today. We'll see how far we get and how open to the truth they really are, because there's so much to discuss. As always, in fact, Colonel Joe Adams is joining us at 8 a.m. And had he not been, which I am glad he is, the news is endless. The news cycle is endless. But if it's Friday, I'm like, I want to relax a little bit. I am so happy that Colonel Joe Adams is joining us because he's going to tell us a lot of truth. Yes, Allison, I was on Jamie Ullman's show last night, the Ullman Report. Make sure you check out the Ullman Report with Jamie Ullman. I told him before in the call before the show. Like, this is where he belongs. I'm so glad he's back at it, another truth teller. Thankfully for him, we're just not enough people out there telling the truth right now. Speaking of truth, I mean, there's a lot of truths to be told. Did you see JD Vance's speech when he was talking about illegals? I believe this to absolutely be true. He was talking about 20 million illegals in the United States right now. And think about that. 20 million is only the number of the people who we have somehow interfaced with as they cross the border. And we estimate that the only people who are talked to, who we come across at the Border Patrol, maybe 20% of the illegals that come across. The rest of them come around undetected. So therefore, how many illegals are there in our country? Is it really more like 50,000, 50 million, 60 million? How many is it? He says 20 million. I think it's probably closer to 40 million. I would bet you that it's double that number. And then to find out our government spent $150 billion in the year 2023, just 1 year, $150 billion on services supplied to illegals. That's crazy, isn't it? Do you know what we could do, the American people, with $150 billion? Why can't we buy school lunches for impoverished children? That might help. What about mental health programs for people out on the street, people who are at risk? That would help our country, wouldn't it? What about our veterans who are sleeping in our streets every night? The elderly sleeping in our streets every night, children sleeping in the streets. What about them? What about Americans? We don't do anything to help Americans. And I hate to say it, but some of these religious organizations, I hope I don't get struck by lightning today, they are just as bad. When I looked at the report and it broke it down by who is supplying all these illegals, a lot of it is religious organizations. Now, I understand they probably feel the obligation to help people, to give people food and boarding, but they go as far as giving them money for rent, giving them money, down payments, deposits, that type of thing. They pay their utility bills. I don't get it. What about Americans? When are we ever going to start with America? I feel like that is the only thing the only way we can have America first is Trump. And I haven't even heard the words America first yet. Have you? Normally, we're always America first, America first. When Donald Trump was president for 4 years, we talked about America first a lot, but I haven't really heard that slogan too much lately. But we have to start bringing it up again because it absolutely is correct. With Donald Trump in that chair in the White House, it will be America first again. And I have sympathy and empathy for a lot of people that are here illegally. I know some of them are here for a better life. Some of them are rescuing their children from terrible circumstances. They come across our border, but you know what? Do it legally. Do it legally. If you have a valid reason to be in the United States, then you can go to a legal port of entry. And if you have a valid reason, they will potentially give you asylum legally, right? Legally. Jay says, not religious organizations, our cooperation who hid behind 501c3. Well, I think we all know what's going on, don't we? Allison, we are tax slaves for illegal immigrants. Yes, we are. Because you know what, that $150 billion, you know what that is? $150 billion, that's your money. That's my money. That's the money you work for. That's your tax money. Remember how I'm always saying, oh, you're paying about 73 cents out of every dollar? It's more than that now on taxes. Well, guess where that tax money is going? Mary says, no sympathy for Venezuela gangs taking over apartments in Colorado. Mary, I'm glad you said that because that's where we can go there right now because I have a video of exactly what these gangs are doing. Venezuelan gangs. We've talked about it numerous times on this show. Taking over. They're in New York City. They're in Detroit. They're probably in the city closest to you, quite honestly. And man, they are wreaking havoc all across this country. And one of the things that they've been doing, and this is in Aurora, Colorado, we touched base on it a little bit yesterday, but what they're doing is they've come into an apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado, and they're going door to door with weapons and kicking people out of their apartments. And then when they finally scare these people and get them out of the apartment, they have a Venezuelan family move in. Now, this is a really, really short clip, but this situation with these Venezuelan gangs, it's getting bad. I think it's getting worse every week, every Monday when I come in and do the show. There's so many stories out there about these gangs, and a lot of them I skip over because I don't want to be going on about the same topics every single day. But this is certainly one that needs to be on our mind. This is what they do. They go door to door and they terrorize residents, and they're forcing people out at gunpoint. These people have to leave all of their belongings behind, or they move out in the middle of the night and hope no one sees them. And then they move a Venezuelan family into the apartment. Now, I remember a time when Joe Biden threatened us all with Hellfire missiles. Do you remember that? They said our AK-47s wouldn't be enough. And he threatened us with Hellfire missiles. If we ever wanted to take over a portion of the country, that's what we would be met with. Now, where are the Hellfire missiles now? Why isn't anyone doing anything about this? Why? I don't understand why no one is doing this. Cindy says no one helps them. And the National Guard not called. No, but I did see that they just appointed a new police chief in that area. So I hope that they did that to try to get a handle on what's taking place, because this is out of control. And I say this all the time. If it's happening there, it will happen anywhere. And hopefully Colonel Joe Adams will jump in there and talk to us a little bit about this, because I can guarantee you he is right on top of this situation with these Venezuelan gangs. Because boy, coming to a town near you, don't think that they won't be showing up at your doorstep. This doesn't get under control. They're going to be showing up at your doorstep. They're going to be forcing you, because you know what? They need a new country. They don't care about Americans and American values. They need a new country. They want to turn us into Venezuela. They want to force you out of your home so that they can take your home over. They don't care about you. Think of them no differently than ISIS, quite honestly. I hate to say that, but no different than ISIS, because that's exactly what ISIS does when they come into a region. They kick everybody out. If you don't leave, they kill you. If you don't bow down to them, they kill you, and then they move their people in. It is absolutely no different at all. So a couple of things I want to get to before Colonel Joe Adams joins us. Like I was saying earlier, talking about pedophilia and all this crazy stuff that's going on. I feel weird even talking about this. It's uncomfortable for me. I don't like to talk about it. You're going to be able to tell it's uncomfortable for me. And for the longest time, I think I kind of told myself that it's not real. This stuff is not really happening. There are not children being sex trafficked in our own country, particularly not with government involvement. I mean, of course, I know there's traffickers. I know there's bad people in our country. But to think that it's organized, an $8 billion business, you're just going to have to see it for yourself. I'm going to play the short video for you. And this is, again, Robert David Steele, former CIA officer, former Marine intelligence.
I have prepared an overview statement based on my work these many past weeks. And I want to just say that as a parent and as a patriot, I'm absolutely outraged by what we're allowing to happen to our children. Humanity is judged on how you treat the weakest member of the society. Let me say that although pedophilia, which says child love, has nothing to do with the abuse of children, these children are not just kidnapped and in some cases bred by families as a cash crop. We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them. And when they are sold, they come without birth certificates, which means it's easier to kill them and have no one ask where they are. We're also importing children by the plane load. Again, children who have no documentation. It's not just child slavery or child sex abuse. It's also child torture. because you have adrenalized blood. You have the whole blood drinking ceremony of the satanic world. It's also the use of children for harvesting body organs. We'll have the Falun Gong testimony tomorrow. One of the reasons that the Falun Gong are so popular is because they're so healthy, so that you can harvest their body organs and get the very best. And then you have ritual ceremonies and ritual murder, as well as incidental murder. The other working assumption is, how long do these children survive within this system? What I am hearing from the witnesses that I've talked to is 2 years. It may be longer. It may be 4 years. It may be 6 years. But by and large, these children are so abused. I mean, we're talking rapes by the hour and so forth, that they reach their expiration date within 2 years. And then they're murdered with impunity, or they're ritually murdered if that's what they've been bred for. So I think we need to document this. No one else has done this before in a systematic manner. This commission is rendering a signal service by seeking to do an overall view in the public interest.
Isn't that just blow your mind? Does that blow your mind as much as it blows my mind? I mean, I am shocked. I really, I have no words for it. I am absolutely, my mind is completely blown. Okay, this guy, Robert David Steele, again, he is a former CIA officer. He is a Marine intelligence officer. And he is sitting here. He put a committee together to investigate child sex trafficking and organ harvesting. I mean, how can you look at that and say that this is not real? And so many people are in denial, including myself. I was in denial for a long time. When people talk about the adrenochrome and all this different stuff, I thought, there is no way that's real. Sherry says Pizzagate is real. Anthony Weiner's laptop is real. Weiner's laptop. Frazzle drip, and I don't know what even some of these things are. Policies. Several police suicided after seeing the laptop. I know, and Sherry, I've heard these stories. I've heard people talk about it, and I still thought there is no way that our government, I'm not talking about these things happening. I know they're happening. I know they happen. I had no idea that it was so widespread that government officials are involved. I had no idea. And if you want to go onto my Telegram page, you can see a much longer interview with David Robert Steele. He is actually, Robert David Steele. It's almost like it's a Monday. I'm sounding like Joe Biden himself. I have a cold, so if you guys haven't noticed, hopefully you guys can't hear me when I play a video. I use that time to cough and drink my water. So I try to mute myself. I don't know where I got this cold. It just kind of came out of nowhere. And I have been coughing like crazy this morning. So I apologize in advance if my voice sounds dry and crackly. And you might see me drinking some water, because otherwise I might not make it through it. But, again, I don't have time to do the deep dive on this today. We will do a little bit of a deeper dive on this, but go to the Tabs on Tap Telegram page and you can watch it. It's a 30-minute, kind of like a mini movie, where you can see this committee and you can hear testimony from other CIA officers, not just this guy, Robert David Steele, other CIA officers, other senators. There are senators who give statements. Go out, watch this video. It's about 30 minutes long, and it will blow your mind, and it will wake you up. Your eyes will open, and you'll feel like I do right now, like this has to stop. We have to get behind this. And there was a time when you couldn't even talk about it. If you talked about it, shut down. And I think that we have just a little bit more leeway right now than what we used to have, to where we can finally talk about it a little bit. And if you go on Telegram, they talk about it a lot. Why do you think they want to shut Telegram down? Because these things are being exposed and talked about, and people are learning the truth over there. That's why they want to shut Telegram down. And that's pretty much how I found these stories, is because I'm thinking, man, they're going after Telegram. Why is this happening? There was some breaking news I wanted to talk about really quick. I think you guys know a lot of my friends are in the hockey community. I have a lot of friends who play professional hockey, and I was really sad to see the story that hockey player Johnny Gaudreau and his brother were killed in a New Jersey crash. They were riding their bicycles. He plays for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'm sure you know the name. It's just a terrible situation that took place. This happened last night. The official statement is the Columbus Blue Jackets are shocked and devastated by this unimaginable tragedy. The Blue Jackets sent a statement. Let's see here. Johnny was not only a great hockey player, but more significantly, a loving husband, father, brother, son, and friend. We extend our heartfelt sympathies to his wife, Meredith, his children, Noah and Johnny, his parents, their family, and friends on the sudden loss of Johnny and Matthew. That's again Columbus Blue Jackets, Johnny Gaudreau, his brother, Matthew. Terrible story. Terrible, terrible story. This happened in New Jersey. What a somber moment to have to talk about that. And again, Colonel Joe Adams joining us in a few more moments. We're going to talk about that. When he joins in, feel free to ask questions. If you ask questions on the comment line, I will try to get those comments through. I don't know if he can hear you. I don't see him waiting in the wings yet. Hopefully, I think he'll remember. We haven't talked for a couple of days, but we'll see if he pops in. He's probably out there and I just don't see him. Something else I wanted to talk about very quickly is the film industry. Like I told you guys earlier, I work in the film industry. And I work in anti-piracy. I own a small security company, and we work in film-related events. We do bodyguard work for celebrities when they travel through the Midwest. That's something that we do. We can guard film sets. We've done plenty of work on that. And I don't talk a lot about my work because most of what we have to sign, these DNRs and different types of contracts to not talk about it, when I certainly cannot ever talk about films or movies or anything like that. We see the majority of movies and definitely cannot talk about that here. But what I do want to talk about is that we all need to start supporting the film industry. And I know it's tough. I know it's tough because I have to say they're not making the best movies. And I see 99% of movies, they're not making the best movies. I think the writers are a little bit out of touch with what people really want to see. I don't understand it. There's nothing I can do about it. But what I do know is that a lot of our theaters are at risk of closing. I know several people who own small theaters, and I know several people who have closed small theaters, some who are struggling. I think all pretty much who are struggling. If you live here in the St. Louis area, the theaters that seem to do the best, Ronnie's, which is a fantastic place out in South County, in the Galleria, they actually do a pretty good business there. There's some of the other theaters that get marginal business, but by and far, when I go to a movie theater, it's empty. There's nobody there. And I'm telling you what, I know streaming and COVID affected, it's never really come back after COVID. And if you want to continue to see films on the big screen, you have to go. And, I know it's expensive. I know people say, oh, I can't afford to go. Of course, it is expensive to go to the movie theater. But at the same time, there are ways around it. And I'm going to start talking about that a little bit more. Every movie theater has a certain night where they have different specials. Where whether it's $2 hot dogs, $5 movies, and I'm going to start showing you guys which specials are going on at these different theaters because man, we've got to get people out to the movie theater. If we don't, I don't know what we're going to do. Things have changed so much. During COVID times, the theaters completely shut down. Do you remember that? Completely shut down. I didn't have work for an entire year, 1 year, a full year. We had zero work. We had nothing. I will always remember the day that I got the email. We had all of these work orders coming up. And then I think it was like maybe February 18th, something like that. All of a sudden they're like, cancel all work orders. Anything after today is canceled. We're no longer doing these screenings of these different films because of COVID. And then the next thing you know, the movie theaters close. A whole year, no work. Then we can finally make our way back. We come back from COVID and things start building up a little bit, a little at a time, but they've never come back fully. And I think you can say that about every industry. Most industries have not come back fully. I mean, grocery stores are closing at 10 o'clock. I remember they used to be open 24 hours, closing at 10 o'clock. A lot of fast food places closing 8, 9, 10 o'clock. Some that used to be open all night long. I'm always shocked when I see places closed at 9 o'clock. Look at Lafayette Square downtown St. Louis. I used to go to hang out down that way quite a bit. Bars would be open till what, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning in Lafayette Square? Nope, they close at 10 o'clock now. Everything closed. Everybody just goes home at 10 o'clock. Our mentality has changed. It's not just the businesses, it's our entire mentality. I'm a night person. As you can see when you come on the show in the morning, I am not a morning person at all. I'm a night person. And so therefore, I go out a lot, and I like going out. If I'm out, I like to stay out late and hang out and have fun while I'm out. Not anymore, because everybody wants to go home at 10 o'clock. So no wonder the business closes. We're going to have to talk a little bit more about this when we have a little bit more time, because I want to do a little bit, I'll give you guys a little bit more information of what you can do, different specials at the different movie theaters, what's going on in films. I can't talk about films. I cannot discuss movies. I can't discuss movie details, but we can certainly talk about the general realm of the film industry, because I talk about it so much with other people. And I feel like that's something that we can all talk about as well, things we can share. But if you like seeing movies on the big screen, then you need to get out to the theaters, because if you don't, there's a very good chance that these theaters will no longer exist. Everything is changing. If you see some of the current movies that are out right now, they're not even really using big actors anymore. Once in a while, I'll see a familiar name. 90% of the movies I see have names, people I've never even heard of. The thing of celebrity is a thing of the past. Celebrity is a thing of the past. There will be a time where we will no longer have celebrity. We will just have random actors playing in these different movies. Why? Because they don't have to pay them. They don't have to pay them millions of dollars to be in a movie, and yet they can continue to make the movie. And they've realized that they don't need these big celebrities to pull people into the movies. Why? Because they don't even care about movie theaters anymore. It's all streaming. Oh, I'll get all worked up about that for sure. Linda says, we went to The Forge last night. Yes, The Forge was a really good movie. I worked on that one. Last Saturday to the early movie. We were in Granite City and very few there. I went to see Reagan this weekend. We hadn't been in ages. It was $8 each, and that's not bad at all. Monica, I told my kids we could watch the new Deadpool if they go watch Reagan with me. That's a good idea. I can't talk about the movies, but I think that's a great idea. And Monica says most stuff is closed in Warrenton on Sunday and Monday. I know what is going on. And let's see, there's another comment about, let's see here. Let me scroll back up to see it. Karen, the movie theater near me for two people with two small popcorns and two small pops came up to $30. Yes, but you know what? There are every single theater, every single one has a special day where you can go and get discounted items. And I know I spent a lot of time at Ronnie's, Marcus Theaters in general. Marcus has a special deal on Tuesdays. I believe, is it Tuesdays? Isn't that terrible? I don't even know. And I believe it's on Tuesdays. And when you go, it is so crowded. I remember one night them telling me they had 1,000 people come through that theater that night. And at that time, I don't know what kind of special they have going on right now, but at that time they had $2 hot dogs and a free small popcorn if you were a loyalty member. So if you like going to see movies, join the loyalty clubs of these different theaters, because every day they have different specials. So there might be some days where they have $5 movies or $8 movies or $2 popcorns or free popcorn. A lot of them offer free popcorn. So there's always a deal to be had, but we have to make sure we have to save the sanctity of the movie theater. We know they're pushing really hard to get out and stream films. We see it happening. It started during COVID, and it's not let up. Yes, crew, Tuesdays at Ronnie's. We don't often work on Tuesdays at Ronnie's just because they don't have we work on pre-screening. So if a movie is not out yet, we provide anti-piracy services so that no one pirates the film prior to box office opening weekend. But we're going to get into that another time. I'm going to continue talking about movie theaters because we have to preserve our theaters. We have to preserve the big screen. And if we don't start acting now, it is going to be another one of those things that is a thing of the past. We've got to make sure we do that. So we're going to talk about that more. In the meantime, we have Colonel Joe Adams waiting in the wings to talk to us. Colonel Joe, let's see if I can get him on with us. You know me, I'm always working with my screens here. Hi, Colonel Joe Adams with the Washington Guard. How are you doing this morning?
Hey, good morning. Nice to be on your show again.
Hopefully we've got your volume. I can fix that. That's just me. I always forget I have to switch it over. Thank you guys always for hanging in there with me. Are you there with us,
Test,
Joe?
testing
Got
one,
you.
two, three. Testing one, two, three.
Oh, Joe, that's on my end. I'm still learning the production side of the podcast. Colonel Joe Adams joining us from the Washington Guard. How are you doing this morning?
Well, good morning. Nice to talk to you again. You got a copy this time? You got a copy?
Do we have what?
Do you have a copy? Can you
A
hear
copy of
me?
what?
Civilian, can
Oh,
you
yes,
hear
we
me?
can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Well, you civilians kill me, I swear.
We can hear you. How are you doing today?
Very good, very good, very good, and very busy and very tired. So let's do this.
I'm having one of those days myself, Joe, one of those weeks in general. Joe, I know there's probably things you want to talk about also, but something that I wanted to kind of throw out there before we get too far. You've seen the news about the Venezuelan gangs, particularly in Aurora, Colorado, but it's happening all across the country. Do you have any comment? Are you familiar with the situation?
Well, I'm the first person in the United States to announce they were coming. I mean, I've got some people down in Central and South America that still talk to me, and they started talking about the Venezuelan gangs late last summer. And by January, I was telling people, get ready, because not only are they here, we're importing them here, and these people are dangerous. I mean, they're like the El Salvadorian gangs. These people are vicious. They come from a vicious society where corruption is normal. And that's why they talk about United States. People talk about the United States turning into a third world country. That's because these people, where they come from, violence every day is an accepted behavior, corruption accepted behavior. And so then when they talk about third world countries, United States turning into, guess what? We're turning into a third world country where all these things are normal. I talked to a pastor down in Springfield, Missouri the other day, and he told me that his church had been broken into 32 times. 32 times. He said, and my car has been vandalized sitting in the church parking 9 times. I said, well, Pastor, church. He says, nothing we can do. Nothing we can do. So he's just being broken in by the illegals, and his car vandalized as just everyday business. And that's the problem, that these things are actually acceptable, and that's terrible. You break into my house one time,
It is terrible.
yeah, this is nothing. Yeah, this is nothing. Look at all the riots in Seattle and Portland burning down. That is turning into acceptable behavior, and we can't tolerate that.
We can't tolerate it, Joe. And as I was explaining to people earlier, we can watch the videos. But it feels so happens when it happens to you, when it comes into your own home, because there could be a day when these gang members come to your front door and they take over your home, and no one's stopping them. So what's going to keep them from doing that?
Well, nobody's taking over my home, and somebody will stop them. And it's called the AR-15, multiple AR-15s. We're not going to talk. And don't forget what I said on your show about when I was at Eagle Pass, and I asked the National Guard, the Texas State Patrol, the Sheriff's Department, local authorities. I even talked to a couple of Texas Rangers. Of course, they don't call them Texas Rangers anymore. I said, give me the message to go home and tell my community. And the bottom line was that arm your family. That's what we're down to. We have law enforcement, but we're outnumbered. We have to arm your family. Never since the Revolutionary War, which I'll get into in a minute, has it been so important that you acquire the skills to protect yourself and your family and your property. And months from now, I fear what's going to happen. Everyone out there listening, if you haven't done those things and aren't doing those things, you're going to be sorry. I had a very uncomfortable with the high up in the Trump campaign. Now, he was with Donald Trump in the White House. I won't mention his name. he's a nobody. He's like invisible, but he's got these finger on the pulse of what's going on. And he said to me out of the clear blue, after he did about a 5-minute rant on how incompetent that Kamala Harris is. For her to run for president is a joke on our system. She's no talented. She's an idiot. And here she is running for the highest office in the United States and could be the most powerful person in the world. Now, how do those things happen? It started years ago. I remember when I was a kid during JFK administration. People don't realize this, but back in those days, people were less likely to vote for a political party. They voted for the right person. And when I first started voting, people, how do you vote? How do you vote? Well, first of all, I vote for my conscience. Can I consciously vote for a person to represent me in this country? Can I vote they're incompetent? Could I vote for them because of politics? No, I vote out of conscience. So that's all changed. We're so politically structured now with two parties that the problem we're doing is people are voting for the wrong person.
Oh, of course, identity politics.
Example, Cor, you vote for that idiot now. Gender, racial lines, and what they'll do for us. Cori Bush said that she was going to bring billions of dollars into St. Louis City, help build the city. What didn't do it? But people looking for black candidates, women will vote for Kamala Harris because she's a woman and black or brown, whatever she is. But people aren't voting for what they think is the right thing in the right different lines, be it gender, be it race. That is the problem we're having with our elections today. We're voting for the wrong people for the wrong reason. And people need to ask themselves, am I doing that? Well, Kamala Harris, I'm a woman. I'm a woman in there. Oh, what does that mean? About having a woman in there? What's she done? She's the board star. And many people know that I worked with board for 12 years. She's supporting these were for people who are incompetent because white and whites will vote against a black candidate. We're just as bad. No, I vote out of conscience. That will do the most for my country. That's the big mistake. You still got a copy?
I agree, Joe. Yeah, I copy you, but it's a little bit broken up, but I do hear what you're saying. And I think it's latency somewhere along the line, maybe on your laptop, if you're on a laptop or your internet service. I'm not sure where it's latency somewhere. So, but we heard what you're saying, at least 90% of it. So I apologize for that, Joe. I'm not sure what's going on with the latency. But, I wanted to throw something in there that does it really matter about people voting? Because everybody has to go out and vote. Do our votes really count? No, because they're going to go and they're going to do whatever they want to do, regardless of how we vote. So a lot of these people who they allege are voting for Harris, we see the polls they throw out there, the nonsense polls, propaganda, where that says, oh, she's got 8 points on Trump. Don't you think that that's all just propaganda so that when they steal the election, they can go back and say, well, look where she was in the polls. She was always ahead of Trump, but it's all lies.
Man, the poll is more than a psychological attempt to control the votes. There's I have faith in the United States. I still have faith in the true American patriots. For Kamala Harris and Donald Trump to be neck and neck is the biggest crime of life. If they had true polls out there, and I don't participate in polls requests every day, I ignore them. You know, if the true polls should be, if people have any brains at all, is that Donald Trump should be 95% and Kamala Harris 5%. If people knew that, if they were voting for the right person and they're using their conscience, and they're not. But I don't believe in the polls. I don't listen to the polls. Polls are just something to give somebody a job and to get on TV, because it creates attention in media, and it makes good stories. It makes drama. There should be no drama in this thing. But here's the conversation I had with a person that works for Donald Trump, promoting Donald Trump, part of his campaign. And this guy's ex-military. I mean, he's been everywhere. Him and I get along. He's friends with Marshall Teague, that's coming to the our event. And he said, if Kamala Harris is elected president, one way or the other, is incarcerated, it will be the beginning of a revolution.
Yes.
Revolution. It'll create so much chaos. Now, people overlook the word chaos. You cannot obtain Marxism and convert a society to Marxism unless you create chaos first. And that's what the border crossing is all about, plus the illegal voting. All of these things that the Biden administration's White House has done nothing but to create chaos. And that's right out of the Marxist playbook.
That's right. We talked about Marxism a little bit yesterday, Joe. You know, before you joined us, I don't know, again, we're talking to Col Joe Adams from the Washington Guard. Did you hear us talking about this? I played a little bit of a video. Robert David Steele, former CIA agent, former Marine intelligence officer, talking about the multi-billion-dollar business in harvesting organs, in sex trafficking children. And that's here in the United States. And then we hear these reports where we have what was it? 190,000 children that are missing in the United States that came across our border, entered into the United States. Now we don't know where they are.
No. Okay. First of all, we are quickly approaching 400,000 missing children. Quickly approaching. We're over 300,000 now, mid 300,000. These children have vanished, gone. And all the worst things you could possibly think of that could happen to a child are happening to these children. Our government is allowing it to happen. Our government, in some way, shape, or form, our current federal government, I'm talking about the White House, is somehow connected to the cartels, without a doubt. They're like we talked about last time. The mission statement for the National Guard and to expedite as many people into this country as possible, as fast as possible. Now, that's a horrible, horrible thing. So this can't end well. This can't end well. Civil wars are between states and opinions of states. That's what a civil war is. A revolution is about the established government. Civil first before they go to revolution. They might skip that. And I have to say this. I will be surprised more if Donald Trump is ever allowed back in the White House. Now, what they're looking at now is they know The only way Donald Trump, the only way totally to stop him is to kill him. Anything short of death of Donald Trump, they know somehow they got to deal with him. There's people right now putting in the works some way or another to kill Donald Trump. They have to stop him. You can't stop
They
this
do,
guy.
and I'm with you, Joe.
You know, I've talked
Yeah,
to
they
him.
can't.
When I met with him, he was very polite to me. He knew who I was and what I did. And the person that I know behind the scenes is not the person that they try and persecute on TV as being this outlandish, crazy politician billionaire. No, he's not. This is a good man.
No.
He loves
Yes.
these people. He takes care of these people. Think what he's given up to go through all this bull crap that he goes through, and his family. I mean, talk about a super patriot. This guy's incredible.
He
Donald,
is. I had the opportunity to meet him, and he was a very humble, nice person. Not what he's portrayed to be.
he is. He's a nice guy. This whole facade of him on TV making him out to be a crazy person, that's not him. That's nothing more than our state-sponsored propaganda media. And
That's
people
right.
need to quit talking about the media, about the news and the media. No, this is a propaganda plan. This is just like what's going on in England and France. I mean, England and France are close to civil wars because of immigration they allowed inside, whereas we're importing it. Those countries didn't import it. They allowed it to happen. We
Yes.
should have learned from that about mass immigration doesn't work. But we did learn from it. The people in charge goes, hey, well, if we keep doing this, we create more chaos. Obviously, massive immigration doesn't work. Let's use mass immigration. And that's what they've done to us.
That's
I've
right.
told
And
you-
Joe,
I've
we're
told you
probably not
before,
too far behind the UK, right?
there's no more free speech in the UK. I can
No.
read. I watch BBC. I can read around what they're talking about. Free speech is gone in England. Look what they're
Yes.
doing. Look what they're doing to us here. It's the same thing. Marxism
It is.
and, of course, the New World
It is.
Order. That's what they want. But if Donald Trump ever sits in the White House again, I would be more surprised than if he doesn't.
I don't think I hate to say this because people are like, oh, you need to be more positive. I always say, I don't think there's any chance whatsoever that he will win this election. I don't think they will ever allow that to happen. We talked about it a little bit yesterday because you know what? They already had one disruption to their 30-year plan towards communism. They don't want another, because every time Trump gets into office, he makes our country better again. And they don't want that. They want to destroy our country. Can you answer that question, Joe? It's one, I always feel like I can find the answer to pretty much everything. The one question I never can answer is why. Why do they want to intentionally destroy our country? I do not get it.
Well, one vote for Kamala Harris is one more vote for the end of this country. That's a good question. Ronald Reagan said, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Can they answer that? They can't say we are. Even the ones who would vote for Kamala, they understand we're in worse shape now. So why would you vote for someone that has done nothing but damage this country versus somebody who did everything for this country because they're voting for the wrong person for the wrong reason, period.
What do you think is going to happen, Joe? When, let's say in November 5th, where everybody gets out and gets their vote, we tally up the votes. We already know how that's going to work out. And they announce that Harris has won, that she overwhelmingly, they probably won't say overwhelming. They'll probably say it was a starting that, it's so close, when they know they're just going to lie, cheat, and steal. What's going to happen when they make that announcement that Harris has won?
Which is why I'm out here and started the Washington Guard, because it's going to be civil unrest. Now, there's a whole chain of effect with civil unrest. It could start there. But when that gentleman who's in the know, used to be chief of staff of the governor of Texas, when he said to me, it's going to be a revolution, he's not just making something up or an expression. He means it. They're looking for a
Yes.
revolution, an armed revolution, people, which is why they want to disarm American citizens, because American citizens have the guns to make a statement. And it's going to get bad. So when I started the Guard out here, I wanted all veterans and military personnel, ex-military personnel, to join the Guard. Well, then a strange thing happened. People who are scared, and people come to me every day and say, Colonel, we're scared. And I said, you have every right to be. Any sensible person that knows what's going on, that can see what's going on, has every right to be scared. Scared. Not only are they scared for our country, they're scared for themselves and their families, because the average person is going to be stuck in the middle. Certain people
That's
will
right.
make effort to turn this baby around, but the average person will be stuck in the middle, and there will be collateral damage, cannon fodder, whatever, and they will become victims of what's happening in this country. You know, I made a list the other day of the people who are non-military, non-weapons trained, who are getting weapons trained by myself. And I filled up three notebook pages of the people, of who they are that came to me to join the Guard. And I got farmers, doctors, nurses, paramedics, EMT, police officers, sheriff's deputies, dentists, preppers, of course, veterans, building contractors, construction people, school attorneys. Of course, two of them were, Mark McCloskey and his wife. I don't know if you can really classify them as an attorney, but these are just people who are scared. And that's why they founded the Washington
Right.
Guard. That's the whole reason I'm here. That's why. We have a defensive posture here in Franklin County. We can defend it, and we will defend it. You know, Border Patrol told me that you need to tell these people back in your area to do exactly what you're doing and form their own groups and get ready. Because, listen, chaos in this country, civil unrest is inevitable. It's in a countdown, and it's coming fast. If you haven't prepared, you need to get prepared, because we are in big trouble.
Yes.
And that's why I'm here.
And I'm so glad you are, Joe. You know, we count on you so much to tell us the truth about situations that most people can't talk about, won't talk about. And I am so glad that you provide, I call it a shelter for people who who they're scared. You know, they don't know what direction to turn in. And they know they can talk to you, they can come to the Washington Guard, they can learn how better skills. You know, there's a lot of things you guys do at the Washington Guard. You teach people better skills, from shooting weapons to prepping to, you know, all the way down the line, just emergency response. And we have to have a place to turn. And outside of a group like yours, the Washington Guard, there is nowhere else. And that's why you're seeing military, you know, police and EMS and all of these different people joining you, because they know it's going to go down at some point. And when you do, the safety is in numbers.
You know, I had a call yesterday from a guy. When I first had the idea of putting the Guard together, I went to this gentleman because he's a big fundraiser and he donates a lot of money to especially anything involving children. And I said to him, look, I've got an idea, because I know what's coming. Now, this is 3 years ago. I know what's coming. Well, how do you know what's coming? I go, because knowing what's coming ahead is my job. For 54 years, I've been in the intelligence industry. I started looking at this thing 2 days after the inauguration, when I turned my flag upside down, and my neighbors said, hey, your flag's upside down. I said, yes, because this country is entering, we're going to be under distress. We're going to go down. It's going to get violent at times. The food chain is going to be cut off. Start preparing. And most of them think like, well, what do you expect out of an old Marine, right? No. I might be an old Marine, but my job in the military was to see things coming and had a plan for it. I started planning for this thing directly over 3 years ago. And when Biden was elected, I went, that's it. That's the trigger. And I started hard. But in the early days, people didn't want to believe it. So this guy I talked to yesterday, he said, oh, yeah, but I've read about all the other militias. And I said, well, first of all, stop. I don't give a damn about other militias and their intent and how they train and what they do. I'm going to do something totally different. I'm going to bring the community in on this, and I'm bringing law enforcement. And they said, Colonel, that's impossible. You're a civilian. Your people are civilians. Law enforcement is not going to listen to you. I go, really? That's impossible, huh? Well, thanks for the clue. Then I simply have to do the impossible. So I had a past reputation in this county by some work as I did for them years and years ago. And they hadn't forgot about that. I won't go into what I did, but it was so helpful to this community. And I never got credit for it. I didn't ask for credit for it, but it was huge. And when I came out here and talked to the sheriff and said, I got an idea. We're going to do a militia out here. We said, what do you have to call it a militia? I go, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I'm not going to succumb to political correctness. Like I said before, militia. Pattern after the same militias that helped George Washington win the Revolution. It's the community. The community's rising up and assisting people that we have elected officials. They're not leaders. There's no such thing as a leader. The only leaders are in the military. They're public elected representatives, and we have to get past that. Or our leaders in Washington. We don't have any leaders in Washington. We don't have any leaders in local politics. They're elected representatives, period, and should be addressed at that. And when I talked to the sheriffs out here in all the surrounding counties did their homework on me, and they know. And I'm not tooting my own horn here. They all said the same thing. We understand you're the real deal. Well, the real deal is here, and I got the guard, and we're making things happen, and this community will be protected. But they said, well, maybe you should take your show on the road and go show other communities. That would be nice of what I did here. But I don't have time. We're running out of time, and my job is to protect the people here in this community, assist law enforcement, all emergency medical, the first responders, because the first responders in all communities are the first people that's going to take a hit. And they can only take a hit for so long. They need people to help them. All of our people are trained in the skills, in the technology to assist first responders in the community. Our training, our equipment, all the money we raise go to nothing but to buy equipment and training to support our first responders. Our first responders should be compared to the Border Patrol, who they've destroyed. Border Patrol is the first line of defense for this country, and they have destroyed it. Now, since the first line of defense is destroyed, now it's going to be up to the communities to create their own line of defense to protect the families and especially the children against the hordes that are coming this way. Chaos. It's going to be a mess. And I'm sorry I have to say that. You know, I held back for a long time because I belong to two think tanks. And when I started talking to the other people in the think tanks, they agreed. But he said, but you can only give the community a little bit at a time, because if you told them all up front of what's coming, they'll think you're crazy. Well, I'm not so crazy now, am I?
You have never been crazy. You've always been very straight, I think, with this, which is why I'm always so happy to have you on the show, because I really do feel like you tell us the truth. Now, I know that there are things that you cannot talk to us about. I certainly understand that. And I try not to ask you questions that I think you can't answer. I don't want to put you in a tough position. But that's why I had to ask about what you thought would happen, because I absolutely believe that the government will do everything they can to make sure that Donald Trump will never sit in that seat again. So I feel like we have to be prepared for whatever is going to happen in November, or maybe, people talk about Donald Trump being sentenced in September. Maybe it'll happen in September, but I think in September he will be sentenced and he will appeal. So I don't think we're going to really have too much craziness going on at September. But in November, when they say Harris has won, we're going to go crazy. People are going to lose their minds, because I think that's going to be when people have said, okay, we're really done. In 2020, when he lost, we didn't do anything. We were very complacent. We didn't do a whole lot of anything. But now I think things are different. We've had those 4 years or 3.5 years to kind of stew over things. And I think we're at that point now where, man, we know when they say Harris has won, we've lost all hope. We know we'll never get it back.
This thing is not going to end peacefully. Remember that one thing. This situation we're in, thanks to the White House, the people that's in the White House now, this will not and cannot end peacefully. Now, think about that. If your community's in chaos and everything's coming apart because of this, people, just leave it at that. This thing is not going to end peacefully. And you better be prepared to protect yourself, because don't forget, first responders, they'll be there, but they respond to a situation that's happening or has happened. Now, how long is it going to take to help come to your families? It could be 10 minutes. It could be 10 days. And if things get real bad, it could be 10 months. So are you able to survive and protect your family for 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 months? I'm not trying to scare people, but you should be scared.
I think you make great, valid points, Joe. I don't think most people are prepared at all. I don't think people are prepared at all. I don't even think people know what to do to prepare, which is why the Washington Guard comes in, so wonderfully, is because so many people, all of a sudden, their mind just goes into overload, and they're like, okay, well, I have a weapon, but can I sustain myself in my house for, a month, 2 months, 3 months, 10 months? And most of the time, the answer is no. They don't even know where to start. They don't even know what to have.
And there's the violent people that are already in our communities, the troublemakers, they haven't prepared. Their plan is, and I had one tell me, I don't have to prepare. I got an AR-15. I'll just go take what I want.
That's right.
What I want. So now you've got a criminal element of the community that have done no preparation other than buy guns, and they will come to you and take what they want. Look at McCloskey. And McCloskey, I laugh at Mark because him standing in front of his mansion down there by the mob breaks down the gates and going to burn his house, and telling him, we're going to kill you. We're going to burn your house down, and whatever's yours, we're taking. And what stopped them? The one thing that he had prepared for, he stood in front of there with an AR-15 and he goes, no, you're not. No, you're not. The mob even said they're going to kill his dog. No, you're not. You're not doing it. Now, if he was a typical person who lives in that community, he wouldn't have had an AR-15.
That's right.
And guess what? Imagine what would have happened to them.
Then he gets prosecuted for it.
He was. I make fun of him all the time. Of course, he's always messing with me. He always, when we do speaking engagements, before I get up there, he always likes to say something crazy to throw me off. So he was so ill prepared. If you look at those pictures of him standing in front of his mansion, hold on. Hey, you see that? It's the sheriff calling me. Hey, Deanna.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he doesn't have a warrant for my arrest.
You're a busy man, Joe.
The sheriff's calling me.
Hopefully not for telling too much truth.
Yeah. Hey, how about this? The sheriff calls me. I don't call him. Okay. We're tight. Anyway, so McCloskey was so ill prepared. A lot of the pictures that they put out. He has a postcard that he autographs at events, right? And it's chopped off just below the knees of the photograph. You know why? He didn't have any shoes on. When he responded, he was so ill prepared. The only preparation he had was his rifle. I told him maybe. And here's the thing: when these things happen, they happen fast. Now, Mark and his wife were sitting home relaxing on the week and sitting up with his shoes off, and the pink polo shirt he was wearing didn't help either. So he confronts a mob in his bare feet. Do you know why he's in his bare feet? He didn't have time. When this happens, it's going to happen so fast, you're not going to have time. So what you do is make arrangements now that you have time. But Mark McCloskey is the classic example. He didn't even have time to put his shoes on. That's how fast these things happen. It's not a slow process. It happens fast. And it's going to be dangerous.
That's right. Joe, I tell people that all the time. You might be at your car in a Walmart parking lot when things go down. You may not even be at your home. You need to know how to be prepared in every single situation. You might be at your workplace and your family's at your home. You may end up in a situation where you can't even get back to your home. So people have to have so many different types of plans for so many different types of situations, because when it happens, we always want to picture all of ourselves and our family that we're in our house when things go down, but that probably isn't going to be the case.
Well, you know, all the guards is required to have what they call a go bag, and those are all the logistic supports you need to survive for 72 hours. Now that means helping the first responders. So we're self-sufficient for 72 hours, right? Then our supply units come up and resupply us to keep us in the field and keep the emergency responders in the field during their job. But we also teach a get home bag, backpack, because you could be shut off. And if bad things have really happened, highways shut down, how do you get home? You might have to go home cross country. What in your pack that you carry in your car do you need to get home? What's your family's? Most families don't have plans. Where's a reconnoiter place? Where are we all going to meet? What do you carry in your pack? We carry extra loaded magazines, water, a day's rations. You might not be home when this happens. I'm not allowed to leave the area because let's say I go do I stopped all speaking engagements out of state. If I'm someplace, I have to notify my people. And what they've done is every time I go someplace out of the area, that they have already calculated how much fuel they need for the helicopter to get there and get back. And the fuel stops. So because I'm so important to this community, according to them, that I have to get back here. And so wherever I am out of state, when necessary, my pilots have calculated the fuel and the amount of fuel they carry and what they can carry to come get me back to Franklin County. That's how serious this is.
It is. And, you know, Joe, I know I don't want to keep you too long, but you have a couple more minutes because I want to talk to you about one thing if you have time. I talked about it a little bit yesterday, and I know you know about this, and a lot of people don't, is that ISIS being across our border, on our southern border, training cartels in making IEDs, teaching them how to do the things that different types of attacks that ISIS would normally do. And there was an arrest in Las Vegas that I briefly touched on yesterday. It was a Hispanic man. I believe his name was Joseph Robles. We talked about it yesterday. And this young man was arrested. And when they searched his apartment, they found parts of IEDs. He was building IEDs in his home. He was planning an ISIS-style terror attack right here in our country. This just happened And if we have one, how many more? People would look at his photo. He's Hispanic. He doesn't look like an ISIS terrorist, yet he was a member of ISIS. So
Well,
I think people need to wake up to what terrorism looks like.
well, this started years ago. When I would do a backup, when the people that we would arrest in the desert, and I would do a backup investigation with Border Patrol, who they were, what they were doing. A lot of them were bringing in weapons and explosives. And so they just weren't coming over here for jobs. They've been supplying their caches for a decade. And if 80% of the people that are coming across the border are coming across undetected, unvetted, I can only imagine how much explosives and demo they're bringing into this country. Now, where do they get that? Well, they get it in Mexico. The first thing a police officer does when he leaves the Mexican government is steal as much as he can and sells it to the cartel. The cartel has brought an unbelievable amount of weapons and explosives into this country. They saw it coming. And if you think that they won't supply ISIS and some of the POIs, the persons of interest in this country, explosives, well, then you're crazy. No, there's munitions here. Oh, military munitions here in this country, cached, compliments of the border crossings by the people who weren't vetted and weren't caught. It's here.
Yes.
It's here. Now, the FBI, of course, said it's not a possibility of a terrorist attack here. It's going to happen. Now, that takes a lot for the FBI to say, guess what? They're here, and we're going to get hit with a terrorist attack. So get ready. Now,
and it's going to be soon. You know, I mean, that's exactly what you said, Joe. The FBI, they just made a statement just a couple days ago that said it is going to happen.
Well, no, listen to me. The FBI made that statement to cover their butts. Because if it happened and they hadn't made that statement, people would be saying, like, the FBI, how come you didn't know? The FBI told the public, we know, and it's going to happen. Now, in what form? Yes. I have no idea. But I know how I would do it if I was a terrorist. But I mean, they have the munitions here to inflict a lot of damage on a lot of people at one time. Now, what will people do when that happens? Panic.
Yes.
Chaos.
Yes.
Chaos. That's what they want.
That's exactly what they
want. The bad guys are here. There's people here, over at least 4,000 known people who come here to hate us and to do something about it. We're going to get hit. So if that don't scare you to start getting ready and arm your family, nothing will. And if you don't do it and you become a victim, don't say I didn't warn you. Don't say the FBI didn't warn you. Then it's your fault. It's not on us.
And you're absolutely right, Joe. And one of the reasons why I really, really, really wanted you to join us this week, I know you're with me on Wednesdays, but I really asked you, even though I did play a re-show, I played a replay with you on it on Wednesday. So we really got 2 doses of you this week. I really wanted to talk to you today because a lot of people out there, a lot of the chatter is that these attacks are going to start on September 1st. That's right around the corner. You know, Iran even said that they've told all major airlines not to fly over certain parts of Iran starting September 1st indefinitely. We know they're up to something. They have said they're going to unilaterally make sure that we, the West, the United States, and Europe, that we also pay a price for what's happening. So how do we know that these attacks aren't going to start happening here in our own country starting September 1st? Something is going on, and it sounds like something big.
Well, when they start giving dates out, I looked at as psyops. You know, we're coming to get you, and get ready September the 1st. So everybody's panicking. And then that passes. They've already said, what about the attack on Israel? It's coming now. They haven't done it yet. The proxies are. They throw out so misinformation that when the real information is out there, you can't decipher which is which. It's like the kid that yelled wolf, right? By the time it was a real wolf, nobody listened to him, and it happened because he had said it so many times. I don't play into that stuff. I don't play into that stuff.
So you don't
Muhammad Ali never telegraph your punches. Hey, before you kick me off your show, when I leave, I'm doing News Talk STL with on the Jamie Allman Network. Yeah, Mark McCloskey's on there, Jamie Allman, and I have to go into St. Louis to the studio and do some filming with them and do an interview. So I got a busy day. But the big thing don't remind people, Saturday, September the 7th, our big event here in Franklin County at the Triple Tree Winery. Very elegant, too fancy for me. That's too bad. So Marshall T is going to be there. Oh, did you tell your listeners about Marshall T and the new Ronald Reagan movie? Did you say?
I did. I talked about it yesterday, and I talked about it on Facebook also.
Yeah, he calls he called about something else, and he goes, "Okay," and I hope the people go to see Ronald Reagan movie. I go, "What?" He goes, "Oh, I'm in the new Ronald Reagan movie." I go, "Teague, Marshall, you're in the Ronald Reagan movie. You mentioned that. You don't think that's a big deal?" Well, I'm kind of busy anyway. So Marshall Teague is in the new, coming out this Friday, I think, the Ronald Reagan movie. But this guy's incredible. He was a 1980 classic called Roadhouse. That started his career. Sparring partner with guys, National Kickboxing Championship. And let me tell you something about that. When you had to be a badass to survive it. Okay. So anyway, he's the key speaker. Of course, you're going to hear from me. I don't know why. So Saturday, September the 7th, from 5 to 9:15 p.m. at the Trinity Hall, 333 Vineyard in Washington, 3665 Sunny Road, Washington, Missouri. Be there, be square. It's going to be a great event. Oh, by the way, anytime I have an event, first prerequisite is, hey, the food has got a banquet and an open bar. That ought to get there. So I'll see you out there. Go online. Yeah, Patriots at the WashingtonGuard.com. Get your tickets where they last. There should be a sold out event. And hold one second. Do I have anything else?
They'll go to thewashingtonguard.com to buy their tickets.
Okay. Go to thewashingtonguard.com to buy your tickets. That's my wife back there and tells me what to do. Anyway, listen to this guy.
Well, Joe.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say thank you so much for adding that.
Oh, this is going to be really intense. And this is all about people who are all like-minded. Come meet me.
That's right.
I want to meet everybody there and talk to me. Tell me what you think about what I talk about on the. The only thing I actually talk about are things that I know. It's in my heart, in my gut, and with information I get from different sources. So I appreciate you, Tabitha. And and did you tell him about Ted Nugent? Ted Nugent.
No, I did not. I hadn't brought up Ted Nugent.
Oh, like nobody knows Ted Nugent. Anyway, Ted Nugent is penciled in next year to be our guest speaker. And he told me to tell you we need 1,000 more shows just like you to keep the word out there. And Ted Nugent is a wild man, like everybody knows. He's a great guy. So he'll be here next year. That's all I got for today.
I can't wait. Well, Colonel Joe Adams, first of all, if you want to reach out to Colonel Joe Adams, you can do that at Patriots at the National. I always say the National. I'm a mess today, Joe. Patriots at thewashingtonguard.com. I posted the poster that Joe gave me, the flyer for September 7th on my personal Facebook page. I showed it to you guys here the other day. Make sure you go online to thewashingtonguard.com and get your tickets for September 7th. And Joe, and where can we find you later? You're going to be on the Jamie Allman show tonight?
I think, no, I'm going to be on, I think about,
Vic.
Oh, Vic Porcelli show this
Vic,
morning.
oh, you're going to be on the Vic Porcelli
Yeah,
show. Okay,
yeah.
excellent.
Between 10:15, 10:30, I'll be on there today. And it's going to
That's
be a
coming up.
continuous thing. So you got News Talk, St. STL is going to take over the radio market because these guys are wild guys and they talk about everything that you believe in, that I believe in,
Yes.
that real Americans believe in. They don't cut it. They tell the truth. They're going to take over the market. That's 101.9 and 94.1. News Talk St.
That's right.
Louis, STL.
Yep, I was on Jamie Allman's show last night. You know, I love the station. I know at least one of the owners, great people over there. So make sure you guys check out Colonel Joe Adams here on the Vic Porcelli show today over at News Talk STL. Well, Joe, we won't keep you. It sounds like you got a busy morning planned. I appreciate you not only joining us this morning, but sticking around as long as you have today. I really do appreciate it. You are a fantastic human being. I hope everyone, you know, like I said, it's coming, it's imminent, it's around the corner. Reach out to Colonel Joe Adams at patriots@thewashingtonguard.com. Send him an email and join up. Join now. Do what you have to do to protect your family. Thank you again, Joe.
Thanks a lot, Tabitha. See you next week. Hopefully.
Yes, you have a great day. Yeah, I will see you next Saturday. Hopefully, all of you. Thanks. Thanks for having Joe. Thanks, guys, for tuning in, hanging out here with Joe Adams and me. I do appreciate it. I love having. I just can't not talk today. I haven't even taken any cold medicine. I do have a cold. I have not taken cold medicine. I probably need some though. Man, I'm a mess today. But thank you guys for all sticking in with us. I love having Colonel Joe Adams on. Like he said, he is the real deal. And he has just a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information. There's so much he can add that I try my hardest to be prepared. I really do. And I don't know everything. I don't. And you need a group like the Washington Guard because they will go over these different plans for you. They'll tell you if you don't know what to put in your bag, what to put in your car, you know, to have for 72 hours or however long you may need. If you're worried about what you can grab and go, he is the expert. If he's not the expert in a particular topic, he will have somebody come out and talk to you that is an expert. So he covers all the bases. And so many of you have already reached out and contacted the Washington Guard and have already joined the group. And I just think that is absolutely fantastic because the more prepared people we have in our communities, the better off we all are, right? The more prepared people. If you are living in a community where, let's say, even a third of the community is prepared, you're going to have a much better chance at not just not just getting by, but actually surviving, because it could come down to that. There are people in this country, unfortunately, who want to do us harm. I hate to say that. I hate to end a Friday like that, but we all need to be more aware of our surroundings and aware of what's going on. So on that note, thank you all for joining me today. I really do, again, appreciate all of your support. It is Labor Day weekend. It's a holiday. I'll still be here Monday. Not a holiday for me. I'll be working all weekend. I'll hopefully have a little bit of break. I'm actually, if anybody's out, I'm heading out on the streets of Clayton, Missouri tonight with some friends. A very rare opportunity for me to get out. I don't get out that often. I'll be out next Saturday at the Freedom Rally with Colonel Joe Adams, of course. Can't wait to see him and hopefully all of you. So have a good weekend, everybody. I will look forward to seeing you all on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. And on Monday, we're going to talk a little bit about Labor Day. So many other things to get into. Who knows what's going to happen between now and then? So we will talk to you all then. Have a great, safe Labor Day weekend. And again, I'm Tabitha